What's going on, everyone? It's Mike, it's John back again, and this is sort of an update, really. We've had a few days off. We only did, I think it was one video, maybe two videos last week. It's been a nice break. No Everton news to report, nothing too scary. And then bang, this morning, John Textor, 600 million quid, going to pay off Moshiri 50 million. And then bang, Everton are in court. It's just brilliant being a toffee, and you go from up to down in no time. John, I'm not going to sit here to be a legal expert. I'm not going to pretend. I've read as much as I think I understand. It doesn't read great. So let's start on the John Textor stuff, because that was more positive. He's come out, apparently told The Guardian 600 million quid to wipe out the debts and give Moshiri 50 million quid just to say goodbye, really. It's all obviously dependent still on selling his shares. He seems to be keeping Everton hot. But this is a guy that clearly appears to want to buy Everton Football Club. I can't fault him for that.
Well, yeah, he's certainly, he's showing his hand, isn't he? 600 million quid to clear the debts. Moshiri's money apparently is £50 million over 5 years, depending on the financial situation and basically where Everton are as a football club performance-wise. That's what I've read. Also seeing another report that two other Crystal Palace shareholders could possibly be the ones to take John Textor's shares off him. So, listen, this could move quite fast if that's the case. Apparently, he's floated them on the American stock market. Doesn't look like there's been many or much interest because we haven't heard anything. But for him to come out with comments like that, he's not commented, but if rumours are to be believed, 600 million to wipe everything off, clean slate, give Moshiri his money, and then he comes in and hopefully puts the club on a level footing. And then you hear a story that Usmanov has taken, I think it was one of his best mates at the time, to court. Now, I don't fully understand it. I'm glad you've said you've read up on what you can read up on it. But we had a conversation before, and I think you've pointed out it's not so much he's taken Everton, isn't it? Some sort of business that Moshiri's involved in that he's going to take to court. I don't know. Enlighten us, Michael.
Well, it's difficult because I think there's conflicting reports online. One of them that I read was that he was taking Everton to court and Moshiri was named as a defendant. And then the other one was that he was sending a company, begins with S. I can't remember what it was called, Sendinir or something. I can't remember what it was called. But he named them, and that Moshiri was obviously in line because, he owns a business, and Everton get named as an associated company and all sorts of rubbish that I'm not going to sit here and pretend to understand. But here is the crux of the situation by what I get. Now, this may be wrong, and if it is, I apologise. I'm not trying to share misunderstanding, misinformation. It's really important that you all understand I don't necessarily know. I'm just reading different opinions online. One opinion that I read was that if Moshiri is taken to court, he's then deemed not fit and appropriate, which means Everton could be stripped from him as an asset, which means that somebody essentially would come in, buy the club, and that is that. And I think that is a similar position to what Abramovich had at Chelsea, where essentially he was told, you cannot own the club after this date. And it was a very expedited, quick sale. And, they had lots of interest, almost a bidding war. I kind of get the impression that that could happen as a result of him being essentially deemed not fit and proper.
So before you go any further, sorry to interrupt, with other reports you've read, for me, that sounds like a good thing, because it'd be quick. The problem we've got is what happens with the £600 million or per se that is owed to other people if Moshiri has to walk away with nothing.
Yeah, so fundamentally, the people that buy the club know they'll get a balance sheet. They understand the debts. They understand the creditors. They understand who Everton owe money to. They get it as almost like a PDF document, I would have thought. This is where Everton are. This is what you're buying. This is a mess they're in. Do you want it? Yes or no? So I kind of get it would almost be like a fire sale. The issue I have with that is it sounds too good to be true. In that sense, it sounds too good to be true that he can just walk away from the club with nothing, and we essentially just go to the highest bidder. I just can't believe that happening. But then you go on the flip side of that. Everton apparently, I don't know how true this is or not. I haven't seen the court document, but Everton have been named as this. So any payment that may get made to Usmanov, if he wins this case, could potentially break the treaty and sanction rules that the UK government put in place, which means this court case could potentially go on for years. It could be settled out of court. It could be settled and no payment made. But what I'm saying is it puts mist around the situation yet again with Everton Football Club. And this is a football club at this point. This is going to get a bit passionate here, John, so just shut up a second. All right. So this is going to get, yet again, Everton's name gets dragged through the mud. You just know the tabloids can't wait to go Everton are in court over Usmanov payment. You know it. Like, so Farhad Moshiri has put us in bed with a Russian oligarch that, rightly or wrongly, if the Ukrainian and Russia war happened, it didn't happen, we probably would be okay. But the facts are, it has happened, and as a result, we're not okay. We had money received from USM, which is obviously now a sanctioned business because it's run by Usmanov, blah 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 blah. But the facts are, we've been in bed with a Russian with sanctions and 777 who are corrupt because they're being put in court in America and all sorts of places. So you're looking at Moshiri, who is doing business, maybe not Usmanov, but doing business with people that just don't appear to be proper and right. And this is what concerns me, is what else is going to end up getting dragged out? What else is going to be found? You know, what else is behind all of this shit that he has dragged us through? And I'm so frustrated with this situation. I'm so frustrated with this news report because yet again, it's Everton being in the news for bad things. You know, we already know that the players, the manager, have not been good enough this season. Conceding 10 goals is not good enough. Losing 3 games is not good enough. But then on top of that, I almost thought we looked like we were sorting all the stuff at the back of the scenes out. You know, it almost looked like it was starting to look a bit more rosy. You know, we had Dan Friedkin and then we got this John Textor, and I started to feel a bit more positive. Then this comes out, and I don't know what it means. I don't know whether it's a positive because he could lose the club, and I don't know whether it's a negative because this could genuinely put off people buying Everton if they think they're going to have to pay off Usmanov, and then they don't even know if they're legally allowed to pay him off. So what does he do then? Do they put a CCJ against the club? Do they say that the club has to go into administration because it can't pay it? I don't know how that works because no one has traded with a sanctioned person before. So this is horrendous, potentially, if that is the case. And I just don't understand it. I just don't know. This is unprecedented, I think, in UK law, that a sanctioned person is trying to get something from somebody who can legally trade in the UK. How do they get paid if they win? And that's the bit I don't understand.
This is just another thing. You know, I remember doing a video on here with you a while back, Michael, saying, you know, it's just bad news after bad news after bad news. And what else is there actually to come out of this? Is there more bad news? And it looks like it has. Now, this could put a hold on the John Textor deal. Now, John Textor, we all know, has got to sell his Crystal Palace shares before he can come into Everton Football Club. So, if this is going to drag on for years, this could realistically put Everton in a situation that we've been in since Moshiri's come into the club for years and years and years. You know, just trying to keep our heads afloat and borrowing off Peter to pay Paul and putting more debt on the club. And I mean, here's one for you. Could Usmanov say to Moshiri, because I did see something the other day, these Russian oligarchs can now be involved with businesses in the UK again. So could it be the case that he says to Usmanov, I tell you what, out of court settlement, you're going to walk away from Everton without a penny. Give me the club. Could he take over the club?
I don't think so. And I've got to be honest, John. I haven't read anywhere that Russian people can be involved in UK businesses all of a sudden. So I haven't seen that.
I did see one report the other day that the oligarchs, the things against them, I thought they're being a bit lightened now. Now maybe I've misread it. It was only one or two reports, but again, and this is where I'm going to get passionate now. Again, it's us as fans who are suffering yet again with our club. Since this man has walked through the door, Farhad Moshiri, and I've said it on here many times, and this just puts the final nail in the coffin with what I've said for a long time. He's been a massive burden on this club since the day he walked in the door, and there was people who blamed Bill Kenwright for the situation Everton are in. He didn't help. God bless him. God rest his soul. He didn't help. He's the one who brought Moshiri in as the new Messiah, as he called him, as the person to take the club forward. He's set us back since Bill Kenwright was in charge. He's took us backwards. He's put us in £600-700 million worth of debt. Now this has come to the forefront to get something else. What's next? But it's us who are suffering. It's our football club. It's us fans who are paying a lot of money for season tickets, going away games to cheer the team on. The team's not great on the pitch. The manager hasn't got a clue what he's doing. It does rub off on the playing side, all the noise that's going on around the club. Again, the club's going to be pulled through the mud because, as you quite rightly say, the press are going to be all over this. All over this. Everton are up in court. Everton have been taken to court. Not Farhad Moshiri. Everton Football Club, and it's us who suffer as Everton fans, as the custodials of our fantastic football club, the club who we all love and supported all our lives. Your dad does, my dad does, their dads did. And again, it's us who are suffering. Our name for the club that we support will get stick off other fans when we go to away matches. They'll be singing at us at the home matches. Whatever songs they want to make up, having a pop at us for something that is not our fault. And again, it's us who are suffering.
Yeah, and this, you're spot on. And this is, the mess that it's caused us as fans. Everton should be arguably one of the most attractive clubs in the country to buy. But because of the debts, because of the mess, because of the way that we are run, because of the fact, even the little things, the playing squad, the manager, the contracts, the 12 players and all of this stuff, none of that would be seen positively by an investor. So the difference is, for example, and you can almost compare us to Newcastle, which is an horrendous thing to do, but you can almost compare us to Newcastle. They've kind of got the stadium, because it's, 52,000, big stadium, decent reputation. Loyal fans. I don't think you can fault the fans. Very passionate. They had Mike Ashley, who didn't invest in that football club very well, didn't run it great, but equally, he didn't lay millions and millions and millions of pounds of debt on that club. So when you look at that club as a situation, you just know that somebody like PIF, which was that private investment fund, they looked at Newcastle and went, well, we just need to sort the players and the manager out, but there's no major debts we've got to pay off. There's no major worries behind the scene. We'll just go in there, put our stamp on it, and we'll fix it up. Nobody can do that with Everton because of all of the baggage around the club. So I can understand why there is an absolute billions of pounds being thrown at Everton. And then the other thing that people need to worry about, and I don't know how much an effect this could or could not have, but obviously depending on what this court case actually is, and depending about the detail, and depending about, what it actually means for Everton Football Club, is if Everton are going to get dragged through the mud, if the brand Everton Football Club is going to get dragged through the mud, what's the Premier League sanctions for that? What is the transfer potential sanctions for that? What is the sanctions to do with paying money to Russia to pay him off if he wins whatever court battle this is, and if it's anything to do with Everton? And then on top of that, what do the sponsors do? Because we've seen it time and time again when a footballer or a player or a golfer does loads of things wrong, the sponsors pull out of the deals. You know, you'll see it, Nike will pull out or Adidas will pull out and they'll say, yeah, we don't want to work with that player anymore. You know, I think Nike did it with Mason Greenwood, if I'm not mistaken. You know, that's an example.
Well, it happened with Tiger Woods with a lot of his sponsors.
Yeah, it happened with Tiger Woods. So what happens if Everton start losing the Castor sponsor, the Red Bull sponsor, the whatever sponsor? How bad is this situation? And this is the problem. None of us know. I don't know how bad this situation is. All I'm kind of hoping is that we're almost an associated party involved in this, and that actually the thing is against Farhad Moshiri. But I don't know. I don't know how much the lawsuit's for. I don't know how bad it is. But all I do know is it's yet another connection with Everton Football Club that, whether rightly or wrongly, mud will get thrown at Everton, because it always does. The UK media will happily throw mud at one of the biggest institutions in English football. They don't give a shit. So yet again, Everton get dragged through the mud because of the incompetence of a man who was meant to essentially be an accountant, who put people in charge that didn't know what they were doing. The club, top to bottom, yet again, and we can almost reaffirm it, is finished. Like, the club is finished. And until someone, it could be John Textor, it could be Dan Friedkin, it could be someone we don't even know about, has got the absolute brass balls to put them on the table and go, do you know what? I'll fix this shit out because it needs fixing. And this fan base is fantastic. And we're going to have this team, you know, pushing in the right direction again. It won't change. And as you rightly said, John, it'll be paying Paul to pay Peter and all that rubbish stuff, whatever you said. It'll be all of that. And if I'm being honest, I've had enough of it. I've had enough of it. This playing squad, 20th in the league, the manager, I've completely lost faith with. The board, there isn't one. The owner, he's put millions of pounds of debt on top of Everton, certainly in the last 2 years, probably looking at 400 million. He never agreed a funding deal with the council or various other people at the start to save the cost for the stadium. You know, we heard all of these things that Cosper agreed with the company building the stadium 5-6 years ago, and it wouldn't rise from above 550 million. And then I think it come out that it was 820. The club is just a complete and utter shit show. And yet again, for negative reasons, we talk about it. It's horrible.
I actually think Everton are the worst run club in the world. And I mean that. Hand on heart, it is an absolute car crash. And just when you see, remember that tunnel that I was lost in about 4 months ago and I couldn't see a light, right? That tunnel's getting longer and the light's getting further away. Still can't see the light.
Still here.
Michael, I still can't see the light. The tunnel's getting longer. And we joked about this and we laughed about it, but it is. There's just, I don't see any end in sight, because just when we're starting to, you hear good news like John Textor's going to come in and clear the debts and give Moshiri his money, bang, something else comes out. What's next? Because I'm telling you now, I'm losing faith in football anyway, which I've said on here, but I'm falling out of love with Everton because I have enough going on in my life without having to read stuff like the club's probably going to get dragged through the mud again. And listen, just to reiterate on what we're saying here, it mightn't have anything to do with Everton Football Club. We're not 100% sure on that. It could be Usmanov and Moshiri and one of his companies, or just Moshiri himself. But if it's the case that it is the club and there's going to be repercussions onto the club, it's just another stake through the heart for us Everton fans. And how long can we put up with it? How long do we just accept this? We need to do marches against the owner, and we've done them before, and he's still there, and we're no further on. something else. There's got to be something else we can do to speed this process up, to get this club back where it belongs. I don't know what it is, because I think me, you, and every Everton fan now are running out of ideas of what we can do to fix this mess. Because I'm telling you now, Farhad Moshiri's not doing a very good job of it. And I can't believe he's put the club into this mess. He must be the worst owner ever in the Premier League history. And you mentioned the club before, Mike Ashley. Newcastle fans hated him, they despised him. But he walked away with money and he sold the club and he done the process right and he found the right owners and stuff. Whether you agree with the Saudi money, you know, that's where the money is. I'd love a Saudi owner to come to Everton, whether you agree with it or not. But as you quite rightly say, he walked away from that club with money in his pocket and there was no debt on the club. And because he didn't go out and he wasn't borrowing off all kinds of people, what they spent come out the club's coffers, or the little bit that he did put in out of his own pocket, and he did stop spending money, but he didn't burden the club with 600, 700 million pounds worth of debt. So Newcastle fans, if any of you watch this, you think you had it bad with Ashley, try being an Everton fan with this clown that we've got.
Yeah, exactly. And I think any club in this situation, I mean, the other thing is no one's going to feel sorry for Everton. No one feels sorry for Everton. And look, I'm not bothered about taking people's sympathy. And actually, I couldn't give a toss about it. Every team that comes to Goodison Park, I want 3 points from. I'm not bothered who you are. You know, it doesn't matter. But you look at the way that a club like Everton has been ran. You know, I read a report about Everton being one of the first 5 clubs in the Premier League. Everton apparently were the ones that actually instigated the first meeting to do with the Premier League. Mate, it's just a mess. And there is no light at the end of the tunnel. I think you're absolutely spot on. And, you know, it's a game week yet again. You know, this news doesn't break when we're not sitting there watching a game. It doesn't break when we're doing nothing. Yet again, it breaks 2 days before the press conference, 4 days before the game of football or whatever it is. It's just a joke. And yet again, Everton Football Club find a way of making you uncertain. Because look, as me and John have said, we do not know. This could mean nothing to Everton. It could mean absolutely massive amounts to Everton. But the fact of the matter is, we don't know. And yet it's another thing that gets brought up on media, gets brought all over the news. You know, was it that Textor news come out this morning to almost damage limitation? Oh, I can't speak. The news this afternoon, you know, was it a positive to a negative? Who knows? The facts are,
but
it's
every
a game
positive,
week.
though, Michael, we know with this club, for every positive that comes out, there's a negative that follows a couple of hours later or a day later. And it's just, as you always say, it's just another life. It's just another day in the life of being an Everton fan. And
we go into a game against Aston Villa on Saturday, which, let's be realistic, John, again, just like I did at Spurs, I'm expecting an absolute kicking. Maybe not at the Spurs level, but I'm expecting Everton to not turn up and roll over 2 or 3-0. How great's that?
it's, do you know, it's actually making me feel sad now. So going through all this with the club, and okay, me and you and all other Everton fans, how longer can we put up with it and go through it and accept it and you know, be an Everton fan? I wouldn't support anyone else, never in a million years, but I blame me dad for making me an Everton fan.
Mate, I blame my dad. I could have been a Villa fan or a Blues fan or an Albion fan, but I chose Everton because Everton choose you, and here I am. Right, we will leave it there, guys. I think that's enough ranting and passion talking. Match preview will be out on Thursday. John, you go and enjoy your dinner, my friend. What have you treated yourself to?
Rancher's chicken.
Oh, delightful. Well, you enjoy that. And we'll see you for the match preview, guys. It's Aston Villa against Everton, Saturday, 5:30 kickoff, if I'm not mistaken. So please don't hold me to that if it's a 3 o'clock. I'm pretty sure it's 5:30. And we'll see you then. Peace.